When I was a kid, I was drawn to Playfair. I used to sail a lot with my dad. One of my first memories was actually on board my dad's boat, wanting to get off the boat because I was so scared. I was a pretty lazy kid as well. I never did many summer camps. So when my dad sort of rolled up and he was like, "Hey, do you want to do this program on Playfair? It's sailing, it sounds pretty cool." Thought about it. I didn't want to go at first, but then I realized that it would be, if I missed out, I would probably regret it for the rest of my days. So I decided to go, and it completely changed my life.
Brigs is it's an amazing adventure that I've been a part on for 5 years now. We sail out through the Great Lakes, learning how to sail, learning about yourselves and other people that you're working alongside with. It's really a tight-knit community that we're all a part of, and we all do the work that we need to do to sail this boat, and we just have a load of fun doing it.
I first wanted to come on board the Playfair because of a friend. They had told me about this great sailing program which they were doing. And at first I was skeptical. I was like, why would I want to be stuck on a boat for, a month or so? But my dad also told a lot of stories about when he was young and sailing, so I was like, maybe sailing isn't so bad. And then I got on board, and the people are so nice here, and I'm always having fun because everybody's looking out for each other. And even though we're stuck together on a boat for a month, it's the people that make it so fun.
Coming sailing on the Brigantines as a teenager is definitely one of the neatest things you can do, and it does have a lot of different benefits, although I would say that not all of them are apparent at the time when you first come on board. One of the main things for me, and I think for most of the young people who come on board that's the most important, is the community aspect. So you come on board and it becomes like your second family. You become close friends with people very, very quickly because you live so close together and you're doing everything together. You're eating, sleeping, sailing and swimming, having a good time all together. You're also going through some of the tough times together. Sailing on a ship like this is extremely challenging, not only because you have to get along with so many people who are with you all the time. No matter how much you like someone, if you're with them 24/7, that is very difficult. So it really, really brings out people's patience, communication, teamwork, through the trials and tribulations. It's very much like as it happens, and you can't really teach that in a classroom. That's something that you only learn through lived experience. And at the same time, it's a challenging environment. Here we are in Georgian Bay, it's very beautiful, but at the same time, the lakes are, they're full of storms and squalls and waves. So the conditions that the people are living in are actually, at times quite harsh, and it's a challenge to get through them. So all the teenagers who are on here, one of the things that I think helps drive the lesson home is that they're essentially going through these challenges together. They're not alone, and they're figuring things out as they go along together. They're getting through everything together, and that's what builds such strong bonds between people, but also just teaches people what they're capable of. So I think that's carrying on from the teamwork and the community aspect of things, it really helps people discover what they are capable of, what they are good at, what they can endure, what they can succeed at. And sometimes there's, I would say on land, not always the opportunities to do that, especially in regular education where a lot of it is about memorization or passing tests, and there's less of a focus on working together or just finding out what your own strengths are and your own abilities are. So for us, making sure that young people feel really confident in themselves is something that we'd like people to walk away from, whether it's after a week or because we are run by youth for youth. We've got a lot of young people on board who are actually here for the entire summer, year after year after year, and that's where the greatest impact comes out. But I would say that it definitely does make a difference to people even in a short period of time, because they are facing a lot of fears. They're doing things that are quite scary, whether that's practically speaking, climbing a loft or joining a new group. A lot of teenagers are shy, and joining a new group is a big deal. Being away from home is a big deal. Being away from all of your comforts is a big deal. The people here don't have their own bed, for example. They're changing beds. You're in a constantly changing and adapting situation. So a lot is being thrown at you. And if you can get through that, you pretty much feel like a superstar at the end. So it is really confidence boosting. I would definitely say that my own self-confidence is hugely based upon the fact that I spent so many years sailing. So at this point, almost nothing rattles me. I feel very fortunate for that when I think about a lot of my friends and the things that they have struggled with through their life, and I've also struggled with my mental health and with different things. But I think sailing on this kind of a boat where you have the support of the community and you also just know that you can basically get through anything, it does give you that like rock solid confidence where no matter what happens you're going to be absolutely fine.
I'm volunteering my summer to work in close quarters with everyone, not just because I find the sailing fun, but also because of the people. And on top of that, I do feel like it's a learning experience whenever I'm here. Even though I've done it before, I'm still growing, I'm still learning, still struggling. Throughout the program, I definitely think I was a lot more introverted when I joined, but I got to talk to a lot of people. At first I was like, oh no, strangers, uh-oh. But when I talk to people, I realized they're not so scary. And as new trainees come on board every week, you have to meet a lot of new people. So now I feel I'm a lot more comfortable with meeting them and with introducing them to new things as I was introduced to it. So it's very much like give what you've gotten. One of the main transferable skills I've learned on this boat has definitely been housekeeping. Huge boat, lots of people. It would look like a pigsty if we didn't have to do cleanup 3 times a day. We have to do under the bunks, on top of the bunks, the decks, the galley, the head, everything, all 3 meals a day. And you have to at least do 1 course as cook. So I had to do a week of cooking for 30 people every single meal. If you can imagine, I got a lot of practice, so I definitely feel more comfortable in the kitchen. Brigs, on top of being a youth sail training program, is just a summer camp where you get to hang out with a lot of friends and make new friends, because you join here at first because you're saying, hey, I want to hang out with this specific person. But after a while you realize that there's so many new people you can meet just by being on this boat. And it's not only about the people you've already met, it's about the people you will meet.
Stand by! Tops for high end and tops of races!
The environment on board the Brigantine, I feel, is actually quite good for young people who've been dealing with quite a lot of challenges in their regular life, whether that's having difficulty with the mainstream school system, difficulty in their families or in society at large, because this is quite a sort of closed, supportive society. It's its own society. We leave land and we are our own community, we are our own society with our own rules. And one of the things that's quite nice about the ship is that the rules are very practical and very clear. So we define them all at the beginning, and it's very clear to young people why these rules exist. They're there to keep you safe. So it doesn't feel arbitrary. It's not like someone is telling you to do this because they're lording anything over you or because they want to be in control of you. So it really hands the control back to the young people and also explains to them, we are doing these things to keep you safe from the elements. You can't take it personally if Mother Nature wants to throw a storm at you. So a lot of the kind of like rebelliousness that people put out is just extinguished by the fact that there's nothing to rebel against. And at the same time, it's very exciting, it's very hands-on, so anyone who struggles with mainstream education or sitting still, or might have, a lot of the time when young people are having problem behavior, it's more that they're just like the environment is not right for them, or people are not really respecting their autonomy. And so what we really try to do here is give people a lot of independence, a lot of autonomy, a lot of responsibility, hand it right to them and say, I trust you to drive this ship, I'll show you how to do it, but our lives are in your hands. Yeah, truly, it's in your hands, you can steer the ship. And that's a big responsibility, and most people don't joke around with that. They take it very seriously and they feel it right to their core immediately. And at the same time, we're also saying, I'm not going to micromanage you, I'm not watching every little thing you do. Here's the schedule, I expect you to just be able to do it.
45 more seconds.
Me? You want me in the water? Woo! Who's gonna drive?
I got it.
I'm wearing all my clothes.
Gainer off the deck
What am I doing? one thing. Yeah, we have three. Do a flip. Okay. Do a flip. Okay.
Ready?
Yeah.
2, 6. If I was to give advice to a young person who was on the fence about doing the program, I would really just say just do it. I was on the fence when I was a kid, and I really did think to myself that if I didn't do this, I would regret it for maybe the rest of my life, maybe the rest of high school. I've never been so happy that I did something because it's completely changed who I am as a person and made me grow. Really, just do it. If you think you might like it, I'd say just do it. It's a hard program at times, but it's also one of the best things that you can ever do. You go to beautiful places, you make fantastic lifelong friends. Just do it, man.
Brigs Youth Sail Training is a non-profit youth sail training program that takes on youth 13 to 18 years old for 3 to 12-day adventures across the Great Lakes. We're based out of Hamilton, and we strive to reach youth and underprivileged youth from the Hamilton area, but our reach is greater all across Ontario. We strive to allow every youth, every child on board, regardless of their financial circumstances, and give them the transferable skills that they can take into their everyday lives after they step foot off the boat.
So sailing on the Brigantine is very safe. We have a lot of safety protocols in place. The crew are trained. The first mate and myself are also trained in Transport Canada certified. We're licensed by the government, and the vessel itself is inspected annually by Transport Canada. We carry all the necessary safety equipment, so life rafts, Kisby rings, life jackets, and we also do drills every week. So we practice what would happen in case of any of the emergencies that we might encounter. The trainees who come on board are all a part of those drills, and they're all a part of those safety protocols. So everybody who is on a training ship is in training, and that means that they're included in every single aspect of safety that we're doing, and that includes checking the safety equipment to make sure it's still fine. We try to make sure that we are including the trainees in the drills that we do as well. They need in more than just a passenger sense. So if you were on a ferry, for example, and there was a drill or they were telling you about the muster stations, you might stand there, but you would essentially be following the directions of the crew. The trainees who come on board here, they learn how to use the fire hoses in case there was a fire and how to use the fire buckets. They learn what boundary cooling is. So they really are involved in the safety on board as well. And at the same time, it's part of learning to be responsible for yourself and others. So you need, each trainee needs to make sure they're wearing their harness at the correct time, they're wearing it properly, they need to check each other, to look out for each other. So they're very, very much responsible for themselves, but of course in the background there is also the trained crew making sure that they're learning to put on their safety equipment properly and checking that it is done. So yes, it's a safe vessel. What we would call, I suppose, perceived risk versus real risk. The boat is genuinely a risky environment, but all of that risk is managed by the things I've just described. However, how it feels to these people who are on board, so the perceived risk by the participant, is that it is, at times, quite scary. So if you're climbing aloft into the rigging for the first time, yeah, you're wearing a harness, but it still feels terrifying, and it's still a big deal to overcome that fear and to climb up there. Same with being in heavy weather, unless you've done it before, or even just the vessel heeling over with the wind. It feels scary. So the experience that the trainees are having are one of genuine danger, which they are overcoming, which they are enduring, and which they, you know, it might not feel scary to me because I've done it 100 times, but it's going to feel so new and so, you know, it's thrilling for the teenagers who are on board. And whether they're loving it in the moment or terrified in the moment, at the end of the day, after it's all finished, they look back and they can say, I did that, I went through that, I can do anything. In the winter, when the ship is not sailing, we run something called Winter Program, which is a weekly youth group on weekends. Every Friday evening, young people who have been involved in sailing on the ship during the summer can come to our workshop, and we do lessons on Friday nights. Those lessons can be in topics such as navigation, rope work and seamanship, learning about the Canadian buoyage system, but also learning about leadership, how to run a watch, cooking. So basically a lot of the stuff that they'll be doing during the summer, you can get more in depth on a lot of those topics during the winter so that people are prepared for the next summer. And part of what we do at winter program on Saturday, so there's a Friday night sleepover after the lesson, on Saturdays the young people are volunteering, so they're volunteering to do all the maintenance on the ship. Everything that you see on the ship comes down, so all the lines, the spars, they all get de-rigged in the winter and then they get put back up again in the spring after a bunch of work is done on them. All the painting, varnishing, rope work on here, it's primarily done by youth volunteers as well as some of our adult volunteers. But that's what we do on Saturdays during the winter, is we maintain the ship. During the winter program as well, any of the young people who have come on during the summer have the option, if they want to study towards becoming a youth officer and to join the youth officers on board who are volunteering during the summer, who are teaching their peers in turn. So we have a logbook as essentially a curriculum, an on-board curriculum, and each of the trainees receives one of these logbooks, and if they want to, they can work their way through the ranks to become a petty officer, where they would be teaching trainees the next summer. Or after that, if they carry on, they can become a watch officer. And watch officers, again, they're teenagers just like everybody else, but they're responsible for running their own group during the summer months.